Hey, Lisa. Hey, Mike. It's so nice to see you again, Mike. It's been a while. How are you?
Good, good. How are y'all doing?
Really good. Good. So since we have last talked to you, basically, you had the other ballistics expert with the court experience come to your place and do a whole whack of testing, lots of filming, lots of, testing with that gun. So did they use your gun then? Yours was the version.
Yeah. Yep. When they got there, I pulled the shotgun out of my truck and I gave it to him and let him look it over and he kind of did some measurements on it and stuff like that just to make sure everything added up and the shotgun that I got it ended up being used for everything. So
Perfect. So he was satisfied that it was very close to Kurt's gun.
yeah, other than like I said, the small discrepancy of mine is the fact that mine's not a sportsman's model. Cobain's held 3 rounds, mine will hold 5 rounds total. So I've got a longer magazine tube so it makes the foregrip, the wooden part underneath the barrel, it makes it just a little bit longer by maybe 2 inches. It's really nothing other than that. Everything, functionality, operation, it's all the same.
Perfect. And it's the exact same length as Kurt's is from the
Exact
report that
same.
you got. Yeah.
Yep, exact same length. The compensator's exactly the same. Everything meshes up. So
Perfect. I know we've gone through this all, but just for people who maybe haven't seen any of the earlier videos.
yep. But the more you know. Yep.
Exactly. Go ahead, Lisa. Did you want to start off with a few questions?
Well, I was going to ask, do you just want to touch on like the basic measurements, this basic scenario of what this was set up to be and what we've done with the gun?
Um, so other than the measurements, everything otherwise, the shells I had bought to do this, originally I had bought a 100 round pack, 25 rounds per box, which is right in line with back in 94 what they was selling as. Aaron made sure that the shells pretty much matched what like because it changes all the time, you know what I mean? Whenever you're doing something that's 30 years back, of course, like packaging changes, names change, but it was Winchester rounds. They were pretty much exactly the same thing that Cobain had. They just wasn't the same name. Back then Cobains were double A, skeet, something to that effect. And mine were the same thing. As like I said, as far as length, amount of powder, everything matched up. Um so there was no, like I said, there was no discrepancies there. He took measurements of the shotgun, made sure the shotgun was, the barrel length, everything matched up. Yeah, so I mean, everything went really good as far as making sure we had realistic ammunition, realistic firearm that resembled Kurt's. So yeah, I think it was all good.
Perfect. So do you want to tell us was there anything that shocked you about this testing that, you've done a lot of testing before, a lot of that is going to be used in our forensic paper that's going to come out as well and be peer reviewed. So what was the thing that you were like, okay, I wasn't expecting that?
Okay, so and listen, I before I met up with y'all and we all got this started, I never personally owned a semi-automatic shotgun. I'm more of a pump shotgun kind of guy when it comes to hunting and skeet shooting. Um, so in my gunsmith knowledge, I only knew of two ways to run that firearm was the setting it up for a light load and setting it up for a heavy load, which is, heavy loads, your buckshot, your 3-inch magnums. So in talking to other gunsmiths online, I found out there was actually a third way to set that shotgun up for a cuts compensator. so I set that up, and I had shot it a few times that way. But we were able to get that shotgun to eject the shell casing in a unsupported manner. And when I say unsupported manner, meaning not in your shoulder, not hitting your shoulder, just unsupported, just being on its own. So that kind of, blew my mind. Just because all this time we had talked where it was like, nah, this thing isn't going to do it. Well, when I set it up for the cuts compensator method, it worked fine. As far as spitting it out. So that was kind of the first mind-blowing part of it. And then the other part was just the holy cow. And you gotta understand these skulls that we used. They're not, I mean, yes, they're made to give you the effect, but they're not a human brain. They're not vessels. They're not, I mean, I hate to sound crude, but I mean they're set up with a almost 3D printed skull method, and then inside of the brain cavity is just a fake blood filled condom. I mean, that's what it is literally they use a condom. That one picture that is floating around that I showed you guys, you can actually see the the worn out frizzled latex of that. But I will say that like the blood spatter was out of this world. I was standing probably 10 feet from the firearms guy, Aaron, and maybe 6 feet from the cameraman. And when he shot that first skull, I got my son and I were standing back, and I got sprayed with blood on my arm. My son got sprayed. The cameraman didn't get a drop on him, and Aaron, the firearms guy, he was from his neck down was just peppered with fake blood. And I said, Jesus, dude, if you go somewhere around here, you better explain to people what you're doing right off the bat, because they're gonna call the cops and be like, dude, this son of a bitch just killed somebody. It blew my mind how much like the back spatter, the spray that we don't see in these photos that we were offered, from the Seattle PD. Like it really does, like the backspatter, the spray really is mind blowing. Like I never would have thought from 10 feet away I'd get hit. But I my son and I both did. Like we actually got sprayed with fake blood. I mean, and that's like I said, that's not a living anatomical human being. That's just from a skull that replicates what will happen in that situation. So I mean, so those were the two things that kind of just really blew my mind on all this. So
Do you think, as far as the spatter goes, like there is any possible way that a hand being here, there was no spatter on the hand? Like, is that
my son got a lot of footage, and I know I've slacked on that, but I got to get you guys some of that footage that he got. But like just even the first test we did, it was atrocious. Like, I mean, if your hand is this far away from a barrel, like, and you do that, like his hands should have just been sprayed. Like there should have been some kind of, I mean, it's mind blowing. Like I said, just to shoot something like that's anatomically correct, even without a pulse, is mind blowing. I mean, I do not see how his hand would not have been sprayed or just, I mean, riddled with back spatter. I mean, it just.
And we don't see it anywhere, do we? We don't see anything on the floor, really. We see that there's Lisa, what is that on his shirt again? It's fluids. It's not blood, so that's not
yeah, it's From the decomp, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we see
Yeah.
decomp fluid on his shirt. We don't see blood really anywhere. And like you said, without a pulse, without that, that you'll see it in a movie. Somebody gets their arm cut, their hand cut off, and it's like, it's like shooting out from the veins, right? So
I always
So-
think of my mom telling me when she worked at a restaurant down in Florida after I was born. She said about how she had reached over to do something while she was working this restaurant and accidentally nicked just the edge of her forearm. And like she said, just like was going everywhere. She was like, "Oh my God, I'm bleeding to death," and I just can't see. I mean, if he was living and breathing, that his hand was as bare as it was, other than the questionable mark we've talked about a million times, the top of his hands, his forearm should have just been. I mean, the table that we use to set these heads up ones, it's one of them fold out deals, maybe 5 foot, 6 foot by 2 foot, 2.5 foot. And I mean, that thing was saturated. I mean, just sprayed. Like it looked like somebody took a pink brush and went, bah, and just, I mean, hit that table with it. So, I mean, no, for his hand to be bare like that, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's not just in the realm of actual, like a realistic human being living, breathing, that there should have been something.
No.
There should have,
And let's just say for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, the mark he's talking about is from where the gun was resting between Kurt's thumb in here, and it's decomposing tissue because the gun was resting there for about 3 days after Kurt was killed, and then before the police came and removed the gun. So that was just decomposition, decomposing tissue, and that will be explained as well, I believe, in the paper that we're doing, and that has been reviewed by the forensic pathologist. So what about the shell now? So we talked about, okay, so he got it to eject. So Kurt is lying there. The gun is, skinny side up, facing the top. Kurt's hand, as we've been told by numerous different reports, is holding the gun. This is the hand we're talking about. They said they had to pry his hand off the gun. So what happens then to a shell when the hand is on anywhere on the barrel like that?
So I'll put it like this, not knowing the actual distance that shell casing was found, realistically, it could have like shot that far and landed where it landed. Story, the whatever, case closed. But here's the problem is, like, yes, no matter how functional that shotgun is, no matter if it's unshouldered, if it's sitting on the ground, if it's off the ground, if it's off Kurt's foot, however anybody wants to ask that question, that's fine. Yes. If you want to put it that way, would it function? Yeah. It would chuck that shell, and it probably would.
Would it flip then? Would it be on the wrong side?
I still don't buy the flip. Like it's too kinetic and quick. Like the actual motion of it all is too quick. There isn't enough time for it just to go and just flip
land
like
perfectly.
it did. No. And like I said, the fact that he was literally found with his left hand gripping this barrel, it's just not possible. I will stand on it, and I've seen people in the comments ask about that, and people say, "Well, I don't remember." I'm telling you, get yourself a Remington 11, get your hand around that barrel, and try shooting it once with just your hand around that barrel. And you ain't got to grip it, you ain't got to hold it like it's a death grip. Barely grip it, to where your hand just barely slides down that barrel, and try shooting that and getting it to eject that shell. Not gonna happen. It won't happen. I'm telling you, I stand on that. Out of everything I've ever said, these talks we've had, it won't. And there's no way that shell casing will eject if that barrel is obstructed by a hand. Okay, outside our shop here, don't mind the dirty work shirt. Alright. So, we've determined that this will fire unshouldered. Not every time, it has hiccups. But, out of all the ways we've tried firing it so far, we haven't been able to get it to fire with any obstruction to the barrel, meaning a hand wrapped around it like Kurtz has found. And I'm just going to show that any kind of interference to the barrel will prevent ejection. So here we go. Here's the first shot. Just gripping the barrel loosely. This very loosely. Wouldn't eject. Holding my thumb over top the barrel back here as I'm holding the foregrip. Won't eject. Just resting my hand on this. It will eject. Resting my hand back here. Oh, see, right there. Right there was a stovepipe. Right there is what they're talking about in the report. It ejected the shell, but the next shell didn't cycle. So, let's go ahead and clear this. Send the next round in. We'll hold it upside down with the hand around the front of the barrel. Loosely, very loose. No eject. And for the last demonstration, we will just try this one more time. No eject. And listen, if it's, you know, if you need me to actually do it now with my shotgun being set up for a cuts compensator and still do it, and I'm telling you, it's not going to eject that shell. That's, see, like, there's just certain things, like, yes, you can work around a lot of these things and say, well, you know, it could do this, or it, you know, well, in this situation, but I'm telling you, if your hand is gripping that barrel, even in the slightest bit, it's not going to eject. I'm telling you, that shell casing is going to still be in the chamber. It's not going to spit out. And that's the way he was found. Even though his shotgun apparently recoiled clear back down the butt pad of the butt that goes in your shoulder down by his feet, he was still found with his hand around that barrel. I'm telling you, it will not eject. It will not eject that casing.
Something that was brought up to me recently was question of if the gun, the mark on his hand could have been from the gun recoiling, and being that he had such a grip on it or whatever, that it slid through.
But he was dead. How could he have a grip on it?
That's what I mean. Like, but yeah, I was just like, that was the excuse that threw at me the other day, was gun had slid, and that's
I don't buy that. And listen, like that, we've had that conversation before about the cadaveric spasm, the Tom's reasoning to it all. But if that was the case, his right hand wouldn't have just been laying limply by his side. It would have still been in some kind of a position close to it, close. Yeah, I mean, like squeezed in towards his body. Like, it's not how it works. Like, I know it's hard to push that to people. Like, people don't want to hear that, but like, I mean, that's honest to God truth. Like, you can't say, well, yeah, his left hand was gripping the barrel still, but no. Like, if this would have happened, if this cadaveric spasm or this no, he was found with his hand, and that's per the report, his hand was on that barrel. Like, you can't tell me that, like, that gun recoiled, went back, held down, and just held in place like it was all there. That's not how it works. Right. You can't have the right hand doing whatever it wants to do and the left hand still holding. No, like, both would have been there would have been some kind of semblance between the two. There wouldn't, you know, and I just don't buy that.
Well, a cadaveric spasm, when it occurs, it does go, it's a whole body reaction. So yeah, that doesn't.
And
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. You can't have one without the other. The right hand, in that cadaveric spasm, that excuse, his right arm should have been tight to his crotch, to his belly. Like you can't just have this still holding in this position and then this hand just go and just do whatever it wants to. That's not how it works. It's all one reaction to the cause. You know what I mean? The cause and effect. You just
you're exactly right.
I don't buy it. I don't, you know.
I wanted to just say something about cadaveric spasm that our forensic pathologist told us about it as well. But you're exactly right, Mike. And I will also say that this is going to be coming out, but the gravity where Kurt's right hand was found also does not make sense when we look at where it should have dropped. It should have dropped onto his lap. It should have dropped, yeah, at his waist. Much closer. It is again just sitting out, very nicely positioned, as if we're watching a movie. Yep.
Yep. Out. Yep.
So I don't know where Tom even got the cadaveric spasm from, but let's just go over this super quickly. The autopsy does not mention cadaveric spasm in Kurt's hands or limbs. It notes rigor mortis had already set in when the body was discovered, and this was normal progression, not instantaneous. There is no indication that the shotgun was clenched in his hands via cadaveric spasm. In fact, one hand was reportedly resting on the barrel, and the shotgun was lying across his chest, slightly actively gripped. So yes, his hand is around it. They are implying that he is the one holding the gun, but there was no indication of cadaveric spasm. So we don't. And like you said, you can't have both, right? If he was in cadaveric spasm, it would have broken his wrist to do the flip, to do the thing. And if it's not cadaveric spasm, then there's no way that that would have ejected or stayed.
This would have been, like I said, and we're not even talking the your levels, anything that has to do with the blood work, that you guys have found out like amazingly on your own, like just done phenomenal work. We're just talking about, like I said, we're talking about a normal human body doing something to the last second, and it should have, like I said, if his body would have been found with just that shotgun between his legs, his left hand to the side, his right hand to the side, like it would have made a lot more sense. It'd been like, well, you can't really, defeat that argument, but just the way, like I said, the way it was set up, the fact that he's still holding onto this barrel, and it's I don't know if that was you or who mentioned that, but it was like, how can we stage a crime scene to make this look like the real deal? You know what I mean? Like,
They've never seen a crime scene, like that.
No, and that's exactly, it just looks like, but it was enough. I mean, evidently it was enough. It fooled the SPD. They was born happy to call it a within an hour or two of finding his body. So,
Yeah.
but regardless of what they found, you can't beat scientific fact. You can't beat the mechanical operation of that shotgun and how it functions. You can't dispute that. There's no way to dispute. That's the biggest thing. Is, like I said, anybody that wants to fight this, if you want to fight, I'll fight you on this. But I'm serious. Like, there's no way. If his left hand was around that barrel, you would have never found that spent shotgun casing. That shotgun casing would have still been in the chamber when they found him. And I'll stand behind that statement 100%. I'll stake my reputation on that. And I know I've said that online, but I just want to say it in person online. They're on the video. I'll stake my reputation on that. Like, get it to happen, and I'll believe you, but nobody's gonna get it to happen. It's just too convenient. Everything about how he was found is just it's too convenient.
Yeah.
And
I wanted to add, speaking of your reputation, we work with numerous professionals, and every single one of them has said your work is exceptional. And so, and these are people that have been doing this 35 years, you know, people that know their shit, that have worked with tons of other ballistics experts. So, you know, I will also die on that hill defending your reputation as a ballistics expert. So, yeah, we got you. We got you.
Like I said, I mean, if I, you know, what I mean, I'm an honest straight shooter. Like I'm not gonna or try to tell you any different. Like, yes, there's a lot of things you can say. Well, it's possible that he did this, and I'll say, yeah, it is. But between the toxicology that you guys did, the just the studies behind that, and like I said, just the little things that involve the gun itself, it's just. I'm still, like I said, it blows my mind because coming into this, I really didn't. This was more of like, for me, it was more just doing it to be like, prove myself wrong or prove them wrong or prove somebody wrong. And the more we got into this, it was just like, oh my God, like there is literally something here. Like there's something that you can't dispute. You can't. You know what I mean? You can't be called a tin foil hat wearing tick. Like there's so much that comes into play that you're just like, man, like this really is a possibility. Like, oh my God, like this guy was murdered. Like something happened.
Michelle and I did a phone call the other night with somebody. And when we got disconnected, we were talking and she was like, listening to us talk, Kurt really was murdered. Like, you know, I just convinced myself. Yeah, like when you listen to all the different, like, I say this all the time, but you can't just look at one piece of this. Like, when you start looking at it with all the interconnected, the writings on the wall, but to look at one little piece of it, it's like, okay, maybe it could be, maybe, you know, coincidence.
And what piece of it? And you could say, yeah, man, like, yeah, it's possible. And listen, I love going into shit like that. Like, I don't like to form an opinion. I really like to take everything in and be like, okay, this is what's going on. But like I said, through it all, man, I just what you all did with the toxicology reports and stuff with information that hasn't been analyzed in 30 years. And for me to take that shotgun, and like I said, all this time later, yes, can we get it to eject shells without supporting it? Without, yeah, we can. But there's just things, the cripping of the barrel, like there's certain things that happen. And you're like, oh my God, like this really is happening. Like I'm literally seeing what this will do. It's mind blowing. I really, like I said, with doing this all with you guys, like it's been a real eye opening experience. I never would have thought I'd been ever involved in this case to the extent that I have, other than just being a YouTube anonymous voice, you know. It's so yeah, like I said, there is many aspects of this case that people could tear apart, but there's a handful of things that you can't dispute it. You can't just say, well, it was no, like you're wrong. And people were wrong 35 years or 30 years ago, like 31 now. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, that we've gotten this far in just a few short months, a half a year of working with you gals. It totally changed my opinion of everything. I was always 50-50, but there's just so much you can disprove and so much you can go, holy shit, like this is proof. Like this is, so.
So you meet somebody at the bar, you're shooting the and they ask you what happened to Kurt Cobain. What do you tell them?
Hey, I I don't want to speculate on and everything. I mean, I don't know the whole story. I mean, I know enough of it now, over the years, but I feel that Kurt was somehow convinced to be in that area, that location, the greenhouse, and something happened to where he no longer had control of himself, and somebody made something happen that, you know, changed the course of music history, changed the course of, you know, a lot of people's lives, Francis's life. I I like I said, I went into this very open-minded, and as I've said, a 50-50 opinion on it all. But now, after actually operating the shotgun, seeing the evidence you gals have produced, like, it's just, to me, it's just something was done to a guy I think was trying to get away from the fame, away from the spotlight, a guy that just wanted to live his life. And you know, I think something happened that, you know, it was beyond his control, and here we are all these years later still trying to figure it out, you know.
Yeah. You know, when Lisa was saying about how we were talking and going like, oh yeah, I mean, our argument is I mean, I don't think a lot of people could argue with it. But I think, you know, we all three of us have a healthy dose of skepticism where we go, okay, well, we know this, but we're always going, what if I'm wrong? What if there's
Yeah.
something more to this? And we always go back to that every single day. And I think that's why our lawyer likes working with us as well, because he knows that, you know, we're not just drinking any Kool-Aid. We literally, you know, a few times a day, I go, what if I'm wasting my life and ruining someone's life by doing this, you know?
You know, I get you. I get you.
We get asked that a lot too. Like, yeah, a lot of people ask that question, like, well, what if you're wrong? And I'm like, there's nobody that thinks about that more than us. Like,
Yeah.
always questioning, what if we're wrong about, like, what if this isn't it? Who are we hurting? Like, that's on the forefront of our minds at all times with this.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, you know, of course, now there's simply too much evidence to I mean, anybody who's paying any attention. None of the arguments we get on YouTube, none of that has any basis in reality, you know? It's like, well, you know, the biggest one I think that people ask is why did she shoot him as well as, you know, give him the overdose? And I think that's pretty easy because she is super dramatic and super PR savvy. And I mean, in my opinion, she tried to kill him. Right? It's so
What better
final.
way to garner sympathy? What better way? And you know, it still goes back to the road.
You had to make sure it was done.
You're right. Like, that's the thing that kills me is, like, you know, and you listen to her own um retelling of that story, like, it does give a gap of several hours where, like, what were you doing? Like, so if you found him on the floor and you just you got ready, got your makeup on, got, you know, like, and like I said, I guess that's kind of what it boils down to is, like, look, this time we got to make it happen or it doesn't happen. Like, because I honestly feel just the way
Ethan,
down, he was just trying to get the fuck away from me. You know what I mean? Like, I wanna, and I think going home was probably his worst bet, man. Like, he would have been better off going back to Aberdeen, staying with his pap, or going back to North Carolina, Michael Stipe, whatever he was planning on doing. But, like, the worst thing to do was go back to Seattle because the people that he thought was his friends were all bought and you know what I mean? Like, they, you know what I mean? Just, I don't know. Like I said, I can speculate all I want. I have my own opinions on that. That's for another day. But I just, yeah, I just feel that he got caught up in something that once it went down, he couldn't get out of it, man. Something, you know. So sad. It's terrible, man. You know, I just, earlier I was on TikTok and somebody had, Molly's Lips playing, and I was just like, man, what a catchy, badass song, you know? And uh, just it's a shame. It really is. It's a shame that somebody, to think of what could have been, like a solo career away from influence of the big labels, just a shame.
Yeah. And the fact too that we're all still dealing with people believing so much bullshit about who he was as a person,
Oh, yeah, it's the big, sad, depressive, just, yeah.
yeah, whiny, entitled, all these things and so I think that is something hopefully we can give that back to Kurt as well, let him tell his own story, from the legacy that he left.
Yeah.
So next steps, we are getting all this together. So Aaron is writing something up, and basically we're at the point now where the gun, between the blood spatter, the not ejecting if your hand is anywhere on that barrel, even lightly. So those two things. Was there anything else about the gun that you think proves that Kurt didn't use it? What about the blowback? Like, where should that gun? It must have had some kickback, right?
Honestly, I mean, here's the thing, and that's like I said, once again, this is just my own opinion from what I've seen. I, I think it could have. I mean, I think it could have blown back that far. I mean, it's surprising how much force that puts off in the recoil. Um, I mean, where it was found, I mean, that's a reasonable distance, but like you said, still at the end of the day, his hand being found in that barrel, evidently in the area that when it was fired, he should have been holding it. You should have never found that shell casing. So, I mean, that's kind of what that boils down to. Is just I just can't buy it. Yeah, I can't buy. I can buy, like I said, I can buy that the butt stock of that gun being found down by his feet, plausible, but just the hand still being on the barrel. Man, if they would have just took his hand off that barrel and let it lay to the side, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd probably never thought much into it, but just
So the trajectory, we know he was supine, he was lying down when the shot went. So to get it to make that shot, he would have been having to hold the gun above his chest, correct? A foot or two above the chest. What did you find there?
I mean, to get the angle into an inch behind the front piece, I mean, you're talking at least a foot. To get at that angle laying on your back, you would have had to have at least a foot off of the stomach, the torso. Yeah.
And so you,
Foot.
and it's a heavy, 6, 7 pounds. I mean, that's not unwieldy. And he also, at this point, I want to reiterate to people, we know this from the toxicology and from the autopsy, he was choking on his own bile. So that's blood and fluids. He was choking to death on his own fluids. His organs were in necrosis, so that means that oxygen has now been cut off to his organs. They are dying. And
Yep.
he would have also some of the first things to go is your muscle function when you are dying of a heroin overdose. And so he would
Yep.
have not had the muscle function. I mean, we believe that he was probably dead when the shotgun went off, but this is what they want you to believe.
Listen, I've never done hair. I've never experienced that. Just imagine some people can relate to maybe, but just being the most drunkest, the most just whatever. I mean, like you're not able, and just trying to, what I mean, trying to do something that's beyond your body's control. Like it just, uh, like I said, that whole report you all did was amazing. I mean, that really puts into perspective. I mean, if you were choking to death on your own fluids and your organs and bodily functions are dying, like how are you going to be able to raise a shotgun that high and still function enough to set it off? I mean, it just
Then he's moving things away from him. He's
Yeah, there's like what?
Yeah,
3
the
feet away from
sleeve-
heroin kid.
right. He cleans up after himself. He does all these things before lying flat on the ground and holding this 7-pound gun you said? Like
Yeah.
5 to 7 pounds?
7 pounds, yeah.
It's insane.
I mean, if you look at the photos, like evidently, I mean, I'm just going by the photos. Like he would have had to shot this hair, capped his needles, put his kid away, scooted over 3 to 4 feet and down, and then loaded that shotgun. Because how else did that bag of shotgun shells just end up conveniently at his feet? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's too much to, given the time frame that we're talking here. Like, it's so set up, it's ridiculous. It's a movie script. I don't know. Just saying, loaded up 3 shells for something that only needed 1 shell to do. It just seems so stupidly plotted. Like, just what do the cops want to see? What does the world want to see? I mean, it just too much. And I'm sorry. Go ahead. But I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. This one question, it's been asked a few times. It says they want to know if the bead. Hold on, let me find. They wanted to know if the bead during the recoil, if the bead or the top of its gun would have caused damage to the teeth.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So what I'll say on that is the first anatomical head that we used, and I still got that jaw piece in the bed of my truck. It's missing the 2 bottom front teeth. And then the other one, I don't believe it did any damage. I mean, at the end of the day, it boils down to how it was held in there. I mean, if it was just even like 3/16 of an inch, which you're talking several sheets of paper off the teeth, I don't think it would have. I don't think it would have done any damage. Now, if it was resting on the teeth, like I mean, like actually pushing down, I could see it causing, but I mean, there's nowhere in the medical reports that ever states anything about fragments of teeth or teeth themselves. So I don't know. Yes, there's enough force there that yes, it would do it, but depending on how it was set off, how the gun was fired at that moment, it's just a matter of 3/16, even an eighth of an inch. Like it probably could have cleared the teeth. I mean, we're talking about something that quick is done. You know what I mean? So
The other one, and I'm wondering this too, during your testing, the actual testing when you use the jails, did the wad remain inside the skull?
yes.
So we have no reason to think that this shell was modified in any way. Like those
But it's like seriously, like that's a big stretch. I mean, I get what Leland was saying, but at the end of the day, I mean, you would not believe how resilient human skin is, and then you take on the fact that Kurt had a full head of hair. I know. I mean, they per the autopsy, they found the wad inside of his head. The second time we shot off, um, the wad remained inside the head cavity. I mean, no matter how fast that's coming out the end of the barrel, 1,400 feet per second. I mean, it's still at the end of the day, it's still a piece of plastic, so it still has to bounce and stuff. It doesn't have the density of lead. It doesn't have. So yes, we did find the wad inside the skull. Aaron saved that in a Ziploc. Yeah, I mean that's pretty realistic. I mean, as to what was found, yeah. Yep, I would say that's yeah, I mean that's realistic.
Awesome. I mean, there's an extra conspiracy there. I think that we don't need. There's plenty of that to go around. And like I said, that's certainly an interesting theory. But you know, we have
If a show, yeah, if a show was modified, I mean, not only is that something that's not something very even a lot of people I know that are very fluent in guns, how guns work, how I mean, unless you are a seasoned, very experienced reloader, that's not something you could just do on the cuff and be like, hey, send you. Yeah, let's cut the weight down on this load. Let's cut some of the BBs down. Nah, I honestly, like I said, at the end of the day, I still believe. I mean, what was shot into Kurt's head was a full load. I mean that of skeet shot style, 20 gauge round. I mean, I believe that. I really honestly do.
Makes sense. Cool. Thank you so much both for coming today, especially, well, I mean, we love you, Lisa, but especially Mike, because we haven't seen you in a while and you've done such incredible work. So we're going to go ahead and we'll put this up. I'm sure people will have questions. But I think
Oh, answers here, so yeah.
perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you both soon. Okay.
Okay,
All
awesome.
right.
Bye, guys.